Bonjour, hi. Welcome back to another episode of the Quarter Life Diaries. On August 17th, 2023, I turned 25 and I went through a whole quarter life crisis approximately a month prior to turning 25. And so this journey began right then. And I decided to document it on here. And initially it all started because for my 25th birthday, I wanted to offer myself the gift of living my best life. But as it turns out, it is easier said than done. And so I'm documenting it here for you to know all about it. Yeah. In the first episode, I briefly mentioned how it all started and why I was here and why I was doing it. But I wanted to make an episode all about why and where and how it started. Like where in my head I started to actually be here today. So let's take a trip down in memory lane when I started to document all of this. It was early July where I was starting to think about my birthday that was coming up, and a lot of things were happening all at once. I had just started freelance and things were just moving so quickly in my life, and I started feeling the shift happening. I knew that something was changing in me. I couldn't precisely pinpoint exactly what it was, but things were just moving around, and I could feel that this is going to sound ridiculous, but it was the beginning of a new era. And I say that word very ironically in life, but still, like, it was the beginning of something new, of a new chapter, or even like a new book completely. No, I wouldn't say a new book, but like something was changing and I could feel it. And then I started thinking about my birthday approaching. And the idea of turning 25. And I just realized that when I was younger, and I did a whole coffee talk about this, where I mentioned that I was not feeling like a real adult and that I saw my 25th birthday coming up and I was like, I'm not where I thought I would be at age 25. When I was younger and I thought of a 25-year-old woman, I didn't think of the person that I am today. And again, don't get me wrong, I've said this in many other videos. I am very proud of who I am, and I'm proud of where I am and of the person I've become. But with that being said, I was still not fully content with where I was at that point. And I'm not far from there because that was like a month ago. But yeah, it all started there. It started with me thinking about my 25th birthday approaching and realizing that I was like, I didn't have my shit together. And it's okay to not have your shit together, but I was like, okay, I gotta take this opportunity to actually make something good here. I'm not saying here that my life is not good, but it can be better. Some spheres of my life need improvement. And this is where it all started. So on July 17th, 2023, I sat down and I started recording. Today is July 17th, 2023, and I am turning 25 in officially 1 month. This year for my 25th birthday, I wanted to offer myself the gift of living my best life for the rest of my life. I've tried glowing up before, many different ways with different approaches, and they all had one thing in common: they were not sustainable. They didn't work on the long term for me. So this time around, I want this to actually work, and I want this to resist through time and to just be sustainable and maintainable. I want this to last. The key here, I think, for me will be to ease into it rather than to rush into it, because I don't want this to last for just 1 month or 2 months or 3 months or even 6 months. I want this to last for a long time, for the rest of my life, actually. And I don't want to live just the best birthday. I don't want to have the best birthday, but I want to have the best life that we're all talking about, you know. And I'll be completely honest with you, there is a part of me that is really scared because I know myself and I know that I've given up in the past. But this is where I need to challenge myself this time, is by getting out of my comfort zone and getting more and more comfortable with pushing myself without being too intense, because I still need to listen to my mind and listen to my body. But again, as I said, I know myself. I know my behaviors. I know the patterns that I tend to go back to, and I really want to break from them. And this is where I'm going to need to really do some introspection and some reflection on why I have those behaviors and why I always go back to them, even though I know that that's not necessarily the right thing for me to do. I think that's what's the most challenging, and that's what's been the most challenging in the past, is that I know what I need to do. I know the facts. I've done the research. I know, technically speaking, what are the ways for me to get there, to achieve this best life we're all talking about, or to become that best version of myself. But it's easier said than done. And the knowledge is all here, but putting it into action is something else. And this is where I usually break, because I get in my head and then I say I'm gonna commit to myself, but then I just go back to whatever I was doing before. So this is the beginning of a new era. This is the beginning of something new. So for my 25th birthday, I'm offering myself the gift of becoming my real, true, and best self in order to be living my best life. It's exciting. I'm excited. And as you can see, my vision and my idea back then at that moment was it was being too restrictive. You know, even though I said that I wanted to glow up in a sustainable way and I wanted it to work in the long run, which is still true. This is very much how I envisioned this whole thing. But I was focusing too much on all the superficial aspect of it, if I can say. I was thinking about my body, and I was thinking about the way people would perceive me, and I was more focused on how it all looked and sounded, and I liked the idea of it. But I don't think I was realizing what I was getting into. And again, this was a month ago, so I'm probably not going to have the same speech 6 months from now, but this is where we're at right now, and this is where my head is at. And so I didn't want to be too restrictive with myself, so I made a list of pillars, which were not rules, and that was very important because I had done the becoming that girl 2 years ago. And that worked for a little while. It worked for actually, I think I did this for 50 days because it was still in the similar idea where I saw my birthday coming up and I wanted to become that girl before my birthday. So I only gave myself 50 days to accomplish all these things. And I had set rules for myself. And that time, I did not want to recreate this because I knew it was not sustainable. I was actually able to do it, but that's because I had a 50-day window. I knew that I had to contain it all in 50 days. But this time, I'm seeing this for the rest of my life. I'm doing this not only for the upcoming year, but for the rest of my life. And so, all of this to say, I set pillars on which to rely, I guess, for this whole thing. So there were not rules, but there were the things on which I wanted to focus my energy and on which I wanted to base this whole journey. I have made a list of the pillars on which I want to base this strategy. They're not necessarily rules. Actually, they're not rules. But there are pillars. That's why I chose that word, because they are the foundation of what I'm basing this whole thing on. So here are the 8 pillars on which I'm basing this, starting with curious and peaceful mind. So yes, I wanted to have a peaceful mind, but I also want to stay curious. So reading, meditating, and reflecting and retrospecting. I don't know if that's a word, but doing some introspection is very important for me. That's like and this is why it's number 1, because I think that it all comes from there anyway. So I have to be at ease with myself. I have to be in a state of mind that is not just peaceful and neutral, but also curious, because this is how one evolves. Then at number 2, we have a strong body. I have been working out before, and I've mentioned this in resets, and I've mentioned this probably in other types of videos, but I've always been super like all or nothing. So I either go super hardcore and work out consistently for 5 days a week for maybe like a month or 2, and then I am exhausted, so I can't carry on, so I take a break, but then I never actually go back to what it was before. So I'm in extremes. That's what I'm getting at. That's not what this is. This is more about recognizing the strength that is within me physically and using that on an everyday basis, on a daily basis. So recognizing that my legs are strong enough to walk me where I want to walk to, realizing that all of my organs work without me having to do anything, but it's also embracing that. So yes, recognizing it, but also working towards building a stronger and stronger body in order for it to carry me through life with ease again. In number 3, we have meaningful relationships. And that is precisely important for me because I've always had like close friends, and I've always known that the people who were the closest to me were the ones that mattered the most to me in terms of connections and relationships and who I wanted to keep close to my heart. But the key here is to focus on these relationships and maintain these, and not invest energy and time in relationships that don't mean anything to me, that are meaningless. And I know it might sound harsh to say that I have meaningless relationships, but I do. We all do. We all have people in our lives that are there. You don't really know why they're there, but they're there and they're sticking around. My intentions here are not to remove the meaningless people out of my life. That's not what I mean. But what I want to do is, instead of giving them time and energy, I want to give that time and energy to the people who actually matter the most to me and who are important and who mean something to me and who I have meaningful relationships with. Then on number 4, we have passion or passions. Because I feel like I'm very passionate about many things. I have a lot of passions and I want to keep that on because this is what gets me up in the morning. This is what allows me to enjoy life on a daily basis again. And this is what drives me. However, it is important to note that yes, passion is important, but it's also dedication. So you can't just be passionate about something. You have to work towards it. So that's something that we're going to come back to eventually. But passions are important. You have to be passionate, but you also have to be disciplined. At number 5, we have balanced diet. And this is something I've been lacking for a few months, many months, actually. I've been all over the place with eating. I don't know if I want to go into too many details with that, but I've always had like a tricky relationship with food, and I want to be more balanced about it. And I have to recognize some patterns I have to recognize some behaviors I have and some beliefs that I have. But the key here is to develop a balanced diet. So again, without going into the extremes, I want to be in the middle. I want to be balanced. The name says it. Number 6, good hygiene and sense of style. I wouldn't say I'm someone who has bad hygiene to begin with, but there are some concepts that I have in my head, some misconceptions that I need to deconstruct. There are different types of hygiene. There's like dental hygiene, physical hygiene, there's like a bunch of them. So that's why I just put that word, because it included them all. But what I'm getting at is that I can be lazy sometimes, and I can procrastinate, or actually not do my skincare at all just because I'm tired. And it's a habit, it's a bad habit that I have. So putting it down on here means that I have to commit to it. It means that even though sometimes I don't want to brush my teeth, for example, at night when I'm super tired, if I don't want to do the full-on skincare routine in the morning because I'm in a rush, I'm committing to myself and I'm actually doing it even though I don't want to. So yeah. And then sense of style, I've just had so much fun exploring my sense of style, and I've gained so much confidence by doing it that I just want to keep going. And it made me realize that life was more enjoyable when you feel confident about yourself. So I just want to keep that energy within me. 7, we have awareness and mindfulness. I'm in my head a lot, and as much as I can make myself grounded, I can get in my head just as quick. So I want to be aware of what is going on around me and be mindful and be present and be grounded. I want to do things with intention and actually asking myself the right questions and think things through without getting too anxious and too in my head, but actually being aware. So that's why it's called awareness and mindfulness. I want to be intentional. And last but not least, I briefly mentioned it, but we have commitment and discipline. And this is something I've been lacking for many years. I know myself, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I know that one of those weaknesses is that I can become discouraged easily, and I lack a lot of internal motivation. I am motivated by external things. And one of the reasons why I'm documenting this is because it holds me accountable, and people know about it, so they have expectations, and so I have to meet them. Because if I were not documenting this, the only person who would have expectations for me would be myself, and that is not enough for me. And that's, I know it sounds bad, but at least I know it, and at least I'm working with it. You know, I know that this is how I work. I know this is how my brain gets triggered to actually change and do something, is by having people looking at me and expecting things from me. So, with that being said, I'm really working towards being committed to myself, not only to other people's judgment, but to myself, and remembering why I want to do this, and also discipline, because I can get pretty lazy. And it's very easy for me to just be like, oh, you know what, I'll work out tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes next week, and then next week becomes next month, and next month becomes whenever, who knows. So, oh, there's a really good looking dude out there. Anyway, mindfulness, I'm present right here. So commitment and discipline, it's a promise I'm making to myself. So these are the 8 pillars we're working with. I know it's not going to be easy, but again, we're easing into this, right? So once I had these pillars written down, they were more so guidelines, and that's important for me to repeat. There are not rules, they're very much just like guidelines, and they're always kind of in the back of my mind, but I'm not sitting down every single day and analyzing all of these pillars and thinking, oh, have I done something today to really like tick a box in under every single pillar? That's not what's happening, and I don't want this to happen either. But yeah, they're guidelines on which I'm basing all of this, and on which this strategy is developing. And so this is what I started with. But that was at the very beginning of the journey. That was like a month before my birthday was there. And between that first moment, those first few days, and now, a lot has happened. And one of the biggest and main event that happened in that time period was one night I was sitting down with my sister and we were talking about, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but she casually just said, "Oh, you're having a quarter life crisis." And that caught me off guard because I was in full on denial mode. I'm having a quarter life crisis, at least according to my sister. A few days ago, she told me those words and it really shook me. At first I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not having a crisis. Like, I think that the word crisis scared me, and the idea of being in a crisis really scared me. So I went in denial mode immediately. And ever since she told me that, I've been thinking about it. And honestly, I think she's right, because looking back at it and taking a step back from what is happening right now, all signs are pointing towards me being in a quarter life crisis. For starters, I'll be turning 25 in a matter of weeks, and I just keep on repeating it every single time I can. It has literally become my personality trait for the past month. And I think that one of the reasons why I keep on repeating it and mentioning it every single opportunity I get is because I'm trying to get accustomed to it. I thought I didn't care. I thought that 25 didn't scare me, but it does scare me. I feel like what's happening is if I keep on saying it, I will eventually accept it. I am accepting it. I'm not denying the fact that I'll be turning 25, but I'm having, like, it's this age for me represents something bigger than I thought. And then not only that, but I feel like this very intense need for change. And the thing is, I'm not unhappy. That's not it. I'm just not satisfied and pleased with how things are as of now. So I want change. I need to make change, because what I've known so far and what I've done so far is just not working for me anymore. It has worked in the past. I'm just saying that it's not working anymore. And that thought reminded me of something I read. I think it was in The Mountain Zoo or in 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. And it said precisely that. It said that the greatest changes happen in the biggest times of crisis. I think that what scared me about that, about realizing that I was in a quarter life crisis, was that the word crisis can sound pretty scary because it has like a pretty negative connotation. Is that a word? It usually means something pretty negative, but in this case, I don't think it is. I don't have the feeling this is negative. I have the feeling that this is unknown for sure. It's a weird feeling, but it's not negative. I truly feel like it comes from a place of change, growth, and development. And I honestly think that I wouldn't want to be making all these changes if I wasn't ready and if I didn't feel like I needed it or like I truly wanted it. And it would be way easier for me to just stay in my comfort zone and just carry on with everything that I've known and done so far. And I'm not saying that those things are bad, because I've lived a good life so far. Like, I haven't had any issues or troubles, but they're just not doing it for me anymore. What I'm saying is, my comfort zone would be the easy route. It would be the easy route for everyone to just stay in our comfort zone and stay with what we've known our entire life. But I'm actively choosing not to do that. I'm choosing to go on another path and not choose the easy way out and do this for myself. And I'm choosing to commit to myself and to be disciplined and to offer me this gift. Yes, we are using the word crisis here, but what is truly happening here is I'm putting myself first, and I'm doing this for the better. I'm doing this for my mental health, for my physical health, for my well-being overall. And I really have this feeling that it's going to pay off. So that's what's important here. So cheers to the quarter life crisis I'm currently having, and thank you for being part of it. So to sum it all up, I thought this whole thing started as like a gift to myself as my 25th birthday was approaching, when in reality, it started with me having a quarter life crisis without even realizing it. I went through something and I had these feelings, and this is what like sparked this change in me, and this is what sparked this whole thing. So yes, it was coming from a place that was uncomfortable and unknown, but it allowed me to see what I wanted to do with this feeling and with this fear almost. And so yeah, this is where it all started. So I guess that knowing where this all started can give you a better understanding of where I'm coming from and of where this is all coming from. And it's like a little insight as to what is happening and where it all began and where I come from and where I want to go from where I started. That was a lot of words. So I hope you found this insightful and interesting to, I don't know where this all began. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. I am truly going to need it during this whole journey. Hopefully I have made a little difference in your day today. If you would like to make a difference in mine, you know what to do. And I'm going to wish you in Bonne journée.